Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are looking at the one and the only, the APC from G.I. Joe. This is another iconic vehicle. This, to me, really harkens back to the days of World War II, trying to get onto the beaches and everything else. This is an all around vehicle, a wonderful set because you can take it and it actually floated too. So the fact that you could have your Joes go on the highway, they could go on water and everything else. It was kind of a general purpose vehicle. Um, so this was the anti-personnel or anti. Well, apparently I am not as awake as I thought I was. The amphibious personnel carrier. This was first released in the United States in 1983, and it was also sold in '84 and discontinued in 1985. So. After 84 or between 1984 and 1990, it was available as a mail away, which really we do see that a lot of these had become mail away um, sets or whatever that you could get from Hasbro. Okay, so kind of looking at some of the wonderful pictures that we have here from GIJoe.com. Um, nice front view. And this is really the iconic one to me because this is the original one. Has that nice kind of beach colored camouflage on the top here. It really does look really, just nice and iconic to me. Um, and of course, we have our nice cannon on top, a wonderful view. I know that when Renegade Studios was doing their GI Joe, they made sure that they put this in for um, their kind of introductory into GI Joe uh, RPG session, and that saying that you guys were, your characters are riding in the back of one of these because it is very iconic and is a great way to just get everyone together. So. In Star Trek, we have our shuttles. In Star Wars, we have the YT-1300. In G.I. Joe, I don't think anything is more iconic than really the APC. We don't really see it a lot in the cartoon, but it is a very iconic thing. I know I'm here in Wisconsin, and if I was to go to Wisconsin Dells, we are still using the old World War II Army ducks. So, it is really just that iconic view of how things were back in World War II. And, this was a 82 upgrade to the old Army Ducks. And, I keep saying this in a lot of the other videos, if we were going to update this for like the G.I. Joe Transformer crossover movie, how can we update this to really make it seem like a today's modern version of this? Um, we do have gators and other amphibious vehicles. I think they're have half measures and stuff like that. Maybe instead of having it so big, maybe if we went down to more of a truck, like a standard truck size that was an amphibious or something, something smaller that would blend in a little bit more. Um, but that's just my view, and it's just nice seeing these beautiful pictures of this in its glory days. So few of these are still sitting there with all the stickers and everything else, and of course this is a handle on the back, so you could put your Joes in there and everything. And this was kind of a handle on the back, if I remember correctly. Um, I did have one friend that had this. Of course, I say this so many times. Most of the things I collect today are things that harken back to my childhood that I just knew my parents would never get because they were just too expensive. We weren't that lucky. Of course, having two other brothers, they couldn't afford all this stuff for three different boys wanting three different things. So as you can see, we have a ton of figures in here. I want to say if we look at this, I think we were able to get roughly about 20 figures in here. So we have tow ropes here, our steering wheel, there's our top cannon, our driver's hatch. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so 16 18 total is about what we can get. See, I kind of knew that was a handle right here. Shows us that back piece being a handle for us, the bumper. Um, Wonderful schematics, and this is where I really went to get a lot of our stats that we're going to have here in a minute, and all the wonderful stickers that we had. Okay, so let's look at the rest of this, kind of get a little extra overview. Pieces that were easily broken, the too long seat belts. Okay, they're seat belts. I'm thinking they're tow ropes. Um, and make sure the steering wheel isn't missing. God, I want to say I picked up years ago just the base body, and I think I had the top cover, but I didn't have the back, so I used some cardboard or something like that to kind of fill that in. Um, so here we have the nice sunbow picture here, and of course they used it in the comic book, and the nice decals and stuff like that. So this is saying that we're going to have a two-man crew, so your driver and your gunner. So I think your gunner actually sat here because this obviously does not look big enough. And like with so many other GI Joe vehicles, I believe he was supposed to have some sort of, in my mind, he was supposed to have some sort of control in the passenger seat in order to do this. All right. So we're seeing that a two-man crew and about 28 troops is what it was saying, but we can actually fit 16 in the back, going about 35 miles an hour. And quite often with a lot of our military vehicles, we do govern a lot of them down, although with an APC like this, having the tires and the ability to actually go on the ground, on the regular roads and all that stuff, which is why the military really loves vehicles like this. We can get them from point A to point B without tearing up the roads when we're on civilian roads. Um, Maybe in today's modern day, we can go a little faster than the 35 miles an hour. It has a 375-mile range. Oops. And then I kind of clicked a button here. All right. And on top, we have a 105 millimeter recoilless automatic cannon with 225 rounds and high explosive and armor piercing combinations. Um, so I would say that this would be an earlier version of what we had in, say, like the Bradley fighting vehicle. We actually had two chambers, essentially drums that we would load the ammo up, and then you would have a mixture of that ammo. So you could sit here and say you have maybe 100 rounds of your armor piercing and maybe 125 of your high explosive, something like that. Because that's similar as to what we did in the Bradley. We actually had two magazines that we would have to load up, and we actually had to get timed for this in order to do it fast enough in case we're in a wartime situation. Um, so it's amazing what we had to go through and all that stuff, and I managed to do it. I don't know how, but I managed to do it because I was a driver for a year and I was a ground pounder for a year. So I got to see both sides of that life, and it was fun. All right. So the amphibious personnel carrier, and it says again 28 members of the Joe team or whoever else over land and water. Let's see, and it's seeing it has a 50 millimeter cannon. So here's a slight difference between, now this looks like a newer version of it, so it's seeing a 50 millimeter compared to 105 millimeter. So which one do you take? I don't really know which one you really want to grab. So shell-proof tinted portholes. I can't pronounce that. I'm sorry. Off-road flotation tires and modular alloy rims. 1.5 inch torpedo resistant hull armor. Rear 4-wheel drive. Let's see here. And this is for, actually, I think this is for the table, the trading card game. So I might actually have this because I do have the GI Joe trading card game. So, and I forget exactly how the numbers worked here. So, just be very honest with you. It's been so long since we played, and this was actually, I think, out of the second series when we actually got the vehicles. The first series, I think it was just the Joes and the Cobras. In the second series, we actually got the vehicles. Okay, So here's a little miniature that somebody had done up, which is in the micro version, kind of cool. And of course, we have a little tent, wonderful for the kids to play in. Looks awesome, for kids' imaginary play. And here's the video game. Let's see if I can scroll this. This is for GIJoe Battleground. Um, and then here's another nice commercial picture of how this all worked out. Um, Wonderful vehicle. Another one of those things of you can almost make a little GIJoe base set out of this vehicle alone. All right, so we have Europe, Argentina, and Brazil had some different box cover art than what we had here in the United States. And of course, we had the 1982 and 1983. So the 83 is, to me, the better version of it. The 82 is kind of plain-ish, which, the military doesn't go for really for the looks. But still, it's having that desert beach kind of camo really looks iconic to me. Harkens back to, say, World War II. Okay, so now that we transition over here and we have the stats that I kind of came up with, this is where we are. So we have the APC speeder scale. I didn't want to put it at Walker scale. I wanted to keep it kind of speeder scale. It is 35 feet in length. That is kind of going off of our schematics that we have. And I do have a crew of one driver and one gunner. So we do have the 28 passengers. We have 300 kilograms for extra cargo besides the people. Once we start taking people out, then we could start adding more cargo if we wanted to. We do have full coverage. So they kind of always talk about this being a little bit not just a tent, but it's got more of a canvas cover on it, but it's got it's got that appearance of a little bit more. And the front, if you notice, is more of a regular kind of a metal or an armor cover that's painted the same. And then you notice right behind here, then we have our canvas. Okay, maneuverability being a 1D. I'm thinking about this, and maybe we should do 1D in the water and want 2D land. And then, of course, I'm going to have to move this over or change the size of this a little bit. There we go. All right. See, and it's wonderful to kind of do this and then think about this, and then, like I said, let me know what you think of how I come up with the stats, because we're going to put this in water, we're going to have it on land. Having a slight difference, it's not as agile in the water as it's going to be on land. And I do have it at 35 miles an hour, body strength of 5D. If this thing is supposed to be somewhat armored here, let's kind of represent that and keep it that way. As far as a speeder scale vehicle, 5D is a pretty good body strength. Now, I do have this as a heavy blaster cannon. Of course, it is on the turret, and we are at speeder scale. So here's where the argument can go. And you guys tell me what you think about it. If we keep it at speeder scale, saying it's at the 50 millimeter, or if you think that we should maybe bump it up to the 105 millimeter tank cannon. If I do that, then I think maybe what I should do is I should actually put this at Walker scale. Because if we keep that at a 105, and I have actually the range here would represent the 105. So if I'm going to have it as a 105, maybe that's what I should do. We'll put this at Walker scale. Whoops. If I can spell. All right. Hitting the L too fast. All right. So just kind of keeping all that in mind, that now we're going to have this as a 105. We'll have it at Walker scale at 5D. I think that would work pretty well. And this is my master kind of workings here, saying that this is what we have. This is how we're saving it. And I'm doing it on this because if I'm changing it, because I did it, I copied this over to a different one just to show you guys. So I'm not showing any of the other ones because we'll get to the other ones here later on. Um, but that way I don't forget to change something. So um, it's one of those things of whether I do this as a role playing game or not, and it's just the fun and excitement of just being me and being silly and creating all this. I do want to keep this the same as what I'm telling you. I'm changing it to, because like I've said so many times, this is all for fun. That's what this channel is really about. It's all in fun, and hope everybody just gets the enjoyment of just seeing the silliness that I get to create on a day-to-day basis. And we do have quite a few more vehicles looking. You guys won't be able to see the sidebar, but we are still at the very top of our sidebar here. Um, and we have many more vehicles to get to along the way. And we're going to eventually get through all of them, although I'm really centering on making sure, because of the month that we're in, that we have national pride. So GI Joe is a multinational rapid response. So as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the best ways that I can come up with saying that's national pride there. Um, but when we look at a vehicle like this, and again, I really like to think of how we could upgrade this to being something in today's day and age. How do we do this? I really don't know. Um, there's a part of me that's saying, with the advent of having all the UTVs and all that stuff in today's world, and learning that both the Marine Corps and the U.S. Army have contracts for UTVs, do we start seeing that we're going to have more UTVs in situations like this? Maybe we have an amphibious UTV to take the place of this, and we could still have our 35 mile an hour. They're smaller vehicles, a lot cheaper, especially for a rapid response team. We can get in, get out. If it gets destroyed, it's a lower cost. I don't think we would have our 105 millimeter on there. That would be way too powerful for it. In our case, because we are taking this in a Star Wars sense, and we're making it laser cannons and stuff like that. Lasers in the real world don't really have I'll say a blowback from the firing of a shell. Okay, so if you have a heavy cannon on there, that's fine, but the other problem comes into how are we powering that cannon. So there's always a balance to this stuff, um, and it's just going to be an interesting thing. I really want to see how they put GI Joe into the Transformers. Not that it hasn't been done before, but because I know they're going to take a more modern look at it. How are they going to do that? When they did the live action movies, they had the guys in the robotic suits. Um, we had the vehicles with the rocket launchers kind of popping up and stuff like that. We're using uh, nanobot technology and everything else. How do we really kind of do this? And me being an older gentleman, uh, and looking at it as I'd love to keep a lot of this very close to what we had back in the 80s, but that doesn't do a lot of good for a lot of the younger uh, population, the men and women that really like the idea of G.I. Joe, but we can't keep G.I. Joe back in the 80s forever. So I do agree with that. So how do we get this updated? Um, I don't know for sure, and it's just the whole thing. So, the silliness that I kind of come up with, um, we'll see. It's an interesting concept. It really is. Looking at the nice picture that we have here, the side view, and this is from the GIJoe.com. So, if you're wondering where I'm stealing the picture from, it is from them. And I've said it in a lot of my other stuff. I find the pictures on like Bing or whatever that I get you guys. I am not an artist anymore. There was a time where I could kind of draw. Now I have fun doing stick figures if I was going to do anything. Um, I haven't done it in so long. I've lost a lot of the ability that I did have. Um, but um, this looks like that was an entry door getting into the APC outside of jumping in the back, as well as this right here on the nose looks like that is an electronic sight for our turret. So that's what it looks like to me. Whether I'm right or wrong, because typically we do have a block similar to this for the sight for the cannon. Now, it doesn't mean that that couldn't be the main sight, figuring that you're firing straight forward, but it could also be that there's a secondary backup sight and you could switch back and forth on the cannon. Um, so I don't know. When we get a lot of these vehicles and you see how low they actually sit because of the weight of them in the water, it is kind of interesting at times. So, all right, that's what we have here today. Hope you're still enjoying the series. I enjoy bringing it to you every day. We'll see you in the next video.